I started my first business full time in 2015, where I left my sales career that I had built and was very successful. And I made the jump to build my first business, grew that to $1 million a year in less than 4 years. Along the way, I started coaching women and really helping them really align with what does their soul call them toward that they want to create in the world, what are their best gifts and talents, and then how can we do that more strategically. And then also embedded in that was the whole my unpacking and my healing journey with coming to my true self and really understanding how a lot of the things from earlier in my life, how they helped me, but also how they were hurting me. And a lot of that is the work I do now, also at this meeting place of working as a transformational coach, but also bringing the business strategy to help women business owners really, like you say, live optimally. How can we thrive? How can we have a more joyful, abundant life, but also pay attention to what we need to strategically move the needle in our business? And so I call that the meeting place of our soul and our strategy. And that's my signature work is soul seed strategy. It's how do we thrive from our soul seed, the place when we're fully expressed, and what's our strategy for that in the world as people and as business owners.
I am so Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot tell you how excited I am to share with you today somebody that I have such deep respect for and that I'm so excited is joining us as our special guest today, Amber Swenor. So here's the deal, folks. If you've only tuned into this show for the very first time, let me tell you what we're all about. This is a show for women in business. We're talking about all kinds of women in business, women in small business, women in larger business, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, women in corporate leadership, women in nonprofit. We even have some of our viewers who are retired. But what holds us all together, the glue that keeps us going, is that we truly believe that when women in business have money, the entire community benefits. Who's with me? So if we can support women in business, then more women in business will have money and they'll be able to support their communities. And on it goes until, I don't know, maybe the world will be a better place. And so I feel like this is the most important show on the air at this time.
I love
She
it.
said tongue in cheek.
Yes.
But I mean, this is so important. We've got to support each other as women in business. And so I invite you, if you are not already a member of Our Ladies Power Lunch community, then come on over, join us, be a part of this movement of women supporting women. Just go to growsmarter.com/login, and there you'll be able to join our Facebook community. You'll be able to join us for our monthly meetings where we actually get together live and have real live discussions and a little mini retreat for the middle of your day with an exciting, amazing woman who is a member of our community who comes and shares her gifts and talents with us. You'll be able to have access to a lot of the resources that women in our group have placed there for us to help us to navigate our path. So what I'm basically saying is that thing that you've been struggling with in your business, there's somebody there who's already been there, done that, and bought that t-shirt and is willing to support you. That thing that you're struggling with in your life or your personal development, I guarantee there's somebody else who's walked that road, and we're all here, me and 1,000 of my favorite business besties, and we're ready to support you in your business. So come join us, growsmarter.com/login, and it's completely free to join. All right, enough about me and my stuff. Let's get on with this show. Today, my very special guest is Amber, and she's going to share with us her gifts and talents. She's going to share with us how she perceives this idea of being able to live our optimal lives, even while we continue to strive to grow our businesses in a smarter way. So welcome, Amber. Thanks for coming on down and joining us.
Hello. I'm so happy to spend this time with you.
I am happy
Love
to.
your work and your mission.
Thank you so much. So can you share I know Amber because we're both retreat leaders, but Amber is amazing. And I invite you all to get to know Amber. Amber, can you share with everybody who you are and a little bit about the amazing work that you do in the world?
Thank you. Well, one of my mantras is work smarter, not harder. And that has been a huge part of my growth journey in really dismantling that hard work complex. So,
Mhm.
growing up, my childhood, I grew up in the Midwest in rural Wisconsin. I came from a family that was extremely hardworking. They struggled a lot. So, a lot of that multi generational undereducation, uh, there was alcoholism in the family. I was the first generation to graduate high school and then go to college. So, there's a lot that I learned that was really good and powerful to teach me that if you want to go for something, like you've got to work for it. But that also planted the seeds that became a big part of my work in adulthood with unpacking a lot of those belief sets that followed me. So ultimately, I went on to work in sales, marketing. I did a lot of entrepreneurial related jobs. I started my first business full time in 2015, where I left my sales career that I had built and was very successful. And I made the jump to build my first business, grew that to $1 million a year in less than 4 years. Along the way, I started coaching women and really helping them really align with what does their soul call them toward that they want to create in the world, what are their best gifts and talents, and then how can we do that more strategically. And then also embedded in that was the whole my unpacking and my healing journey with coming to my true self and really understanding how a lot of the things from earlier in my life, how they helped me, but also how they were hurting me. And a lot of that is the work I do now, also at this meeting place of working as a transformational coach, but also bringing the business strategy to help women business owners really, like you say, live optimally. How can we thrive? How can we have a more joyful, abundant life, but also pay attention to what we need to strategically move the needle in our business? And so I call that the meeting place of our soul and our strategy. And that's my signature work is soul seed strategy. It's how do we thrive from our soul seed, the place when we're fully expressed, and what's our strategy for that in the world as people and as business owners.
I am so in love with this. Here's the reason why. A lot of the times you go to a workshop or a seminar, and it really does a lot to help you with your personal development and, to move the things that are on the inside that can be a challenge. And then you come back and maybe the binder sits on your shelf or something, nothing really happens in terms of your business. Or you might go to a workshop or a seminar or a retreat or something like that, and it's all business all the time. And you learn like the top 10 ways to grow your business in 10 days. And really, really great, but there's no heart to it. There's no soul. And
Yes.
so the fact that you bring it all together, kind of like shameless plug, what we do with this show where we're talking about growing your business smarter, but also why can't we live our optimal life while we're doing that too? Why can't
Yes.
we marry them both? I love that, Amber. I love what made you decide that that had to be something that we look at both sides of.
Yeah. Well, I definitely feel that there were like seeds of this from the time I was a kid. It started with just this sort of intuition and this feeling that some of the environments I was in, they felt more stressful than they needed to be. And so a lot of that came with me my whole life. I really felt from an early age, I am meant to help people. I didn't know what that meant like fully, but
Mhm.
I knew it had to do with helping us be more human, what we're meant for here while we are building businesses. And I think because money was such a root of struggle in my family, I was really curious and really unpacked my whole life around how do we live meaningful lives when we need money to make the world go around, but how do we do this in a way that doesn't kill our humanity, right? Like, how do
Mhm.
we honor our humanity? So then, in my career, before starting my business, I worked in TV advertising. There was a lot about that I loved. I realized I was really good at brand strategy, and I would have conversations with businesses and help them understand where their marketing opportunity was. But I could see that sometimes it was more of an issue that like they weren't aligned with actually that this was the kind of business they even wanted to be growing. I could like mentors have told me, Amber, you have the gift of sight. Like you can
Mhm.
see when they're saying this, but they really want or they mean this. And so it was like each seed planted along the way. And then in the last 5 to 7 years, as I started offering coaching and consulting, again, it was just I just started testing my theories and models, and I studied because I could see that business owners would talk about we want to do this or we should do this, but I could tell that it didn't actually fit what they felt their path was for life. And when there's that misalignment, sometimes that's why they were not having the success they wanted.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely. I totally get that. And I want people who are watching along to understand that you are such a multifaceted person. I mean, right behind you, we're looking at your best-selling book, which is amazing. If you folks have not had an opportunity as yet to go check it out, I would recommend going onto Amazon and downloading it immediately.
Thank you.
You're also an outstanding rock goddess. Like, tell us a little bit about the other things that you have going
Yeah.
on in your life.
Thank you. Yeah, my band is Morning Star. And so I started that, 16 years ago. That's how I met my now husband. He had placed an ad in the newspaper looking for a singer for his band. Okay. So we're different iterations of the band, but about 6, 7 years ago, we came out as Morning Star. We put out our first full length album a few years ago. It won some awards. But a lot of my personal journey too has been through that journey as a musician, where I could, like, years ago, I had so much fear and imposter syndrome running through my head, worried about, do people like us, or what are they thinking of me? And so it's been this cool thing to see that the more confident I become in my musical journey, it's made me more confident in my work too. Like, everything interconnects in our lives.
It does, it does. And I feel as though for a lot of us as women in business, yes, we know we have our work and we have our families, and somehow the piece that is us, ourselves, sometimes that gets left behind. So it's so
Yeah.
refreshing to see that you're still doing the thing that you love, and you're doing your business, and you're doing all the things that make you you. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
It's fun. And there's times that it's difficult. And then I think we all need this, into what you said. Sometimes we lose that part of ourselves, and we just have to make the spaces, retreat, or like a girlfriend's weekend, or just our own time. I think I hear from a lot of women, they forget how much they needed something until they go do it. And so that's so important that we're scheduling those things and committing to them and knowing that we're worth it. And I think we always come back more re-energized and just feeling like alive again. But we sometimes have a hard time remembering how much we need that. So it just needs to be built in to our lives.
So tell us a little bit about how you even came to be doing this kind of work that you do. Like, what was the driving force behind going from working in a corporate setting, which I am very familiar with, and so many of our viewers and listeners, they know about making that switch. What was that like for you?
Mm. Well, I was working in television advertising, and I describe it in my book as this kernel, this seed of a whisper that had been with me for years. I did feel from a pretty early age I was meant to help people. I'd work for myself someday, although I didn't know what that would look like. And while I was in that advertising job for close to 5 years, and I was having a lot of success, but I found myself thinking more and more that this is not the only thing I'm ever meant to do. But I
Mhm.
felt really trapped because I had finally gotten my income to a place where I could start to pay off debt and afford things like better groceries. And when you come from some income
Yes.
instability, or where you watch your parents struggle to make sure they can provide, right? It was like, wow, I finally could start to sigh a little relief that we wouldn't be panicked about how to pay tomorrow's bills. So, but that whisper for me, it just getting louder and louder. And I was kind of an emotional train wreck. I was crying in my car every day for different reasons, with different conflicts at work, at the place of work. But a lot of it ultimately boiled down to, I had what I call this soul calling, and it got louder and louder until I finally said, like, I can't stay attached to this money. If I do not take the steps and know what could become possible, I will look back and regret it someday. And that was the catalyst that I just got tired of my own stuff, of like overthinking it. I wish I could have built my business while I stayed in my job, but it would have been considered a conflict of interest. So ultimately, I had to leave, and I went full force. I left that secure job that I worked so hard to build, my income and my client list. And then I was all in, and I was extremely focused on my strategy and my goals that first few years. And by staying extremely laser focused, it helped me get where I needed to go so that I could have some semblance of security again. Although that, I don't know if we ever have security as entrepreneurs. We're always learning how to be with that.
Yes, no, I hear what you're saying. So to be clear for our folks who are watching along, who are the folks who, when they come into your space, you're able to do your very best work with them? Who are the folks who benefit the most from you?
Yeah, yeah. There's two different audiences. One are leaders, directly business owners of teams of like 5 to 20 people. And sometimes they have maybe 1 or 2 employees, but they are in the process of growing their team and really stepping into that CEO seat and getting
Mhm.
things optimized so that they can really own that position as the leader of that team, but building a culture of leaders among leaders. So usually
Mhm.
they're heart-centered, visionary, passionate business owners. And really the industry doesn't necessarily matter. I've worked with B2B, B2C, all variety of industries, but it's they themselves are passionate, but they struggle with how to make that switch from being founder led to now having a team. And I work with them on improving alignment to the team culture and vision and goals and communication, and
Mhm.
building a culture of leaders among leaders. So that's one set of work. But then before that is helping the people earlier in the journey who see that they might become that person someday. And I've created specific programming for people earlier in the journey where if they're at the seed of an idea or they're side hustling or they have a business but they want to pivot in a new direction, and I help those women launch, grow the thing, or make the pivot into the thing that they want to step into, and doing that in a way that honors who they are, but is also, again, the strategy aspect of it to help them look at how do they, where's their money opportunity? How do they position this? How do they keep trusting themselves to make the changes that they need to make? Because usually it involves either leaving a career or like letting go of people that built one kind of business and they're like, but I actually want to do this kind of thing over there. And so it's that point of transformation.
So tell us a story. Because one of my favorite mentors likes to say that, you can explain something, but story really does tell you so much more. Tell us a story about a client who was in that latter situation, who maybe was
Mm-hmm.
in that growth phase of transformation, and how the work that you've done with her or him was able to be helpful for them in their life and business.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Amazing client, Nicole, using her name, sharing her story because she's given me permission. And this was about 8 years ago. She was a solopreneur, massage therapist. The more I
Mhm.
got to know her and learn about her amazing, empowering story about how she got into massage, how she's really a leader in the space of pre and postnatal infant massage and wellness and health for women. Uh, and it goes deeper. It's about improving maternal outcomes and how her expertise through massage and understanding how massage providers can actually help pregnant women become more aware of pregnancy risks. And she just had this really big vision for how she wanted to transform the world and bring more prenatal massage education to more massage practitioners. But at the
Mhm.
time, she was struggling and trading dollars for hours working for herself. Right. And there was a lot of the self-limiting beliefs around, well, who am I to think that I can make more money? And who am I to think I can lead a team? She was single parenting her two young children that had special needs from her experience with them being born early at 25 and a half weeks, and they survived. So over the course of a few years, supported her in her personal transformation to see herself as worthy and capable, helped her surpass 6 figures in revenue, helped her go from being herself to now a staff of 10 and growing. She's built a leading women's wellness center. They continue growing. She has trained staff to do what she does. So she's no longer having to trade her dollars for hours to be the only practitioner. And I'm so excited because I'm co-working with her now on her vision to launching another business that's going global, that is following through on this seed of a vision she had 8 years ago to bring transformational trainings to other massage practitioners to really help pregnant couples and pregnant women. So this is an example of where she was kind of struggling to get by. And now where we are is she's got a team running her women's wellness center, and we're focused on what her next business vision is.
That's really beautiful. I I can almost hear the audience members right now being so excited about that, because so many people are in that phase where they have this dream. They see how the thing that they do can really, really help the world, but they're so busy in survival mode
Yeah.
that getting when you're in survival mode, getting your message out in a bigger, better way, that cannot be your priority. Your priority is survival.
Yes, yes. And so to break that down a bit, often, and I work with many clients like Nicole, it comes down to where we look at what can come off their plate, what needs to stay on their plate, where
Mhm.
is their best and highest use, especially related to what their time is worth. So if they're delivering services, sometimes it looks like charging more for their services and then having other offerings where they can do one to many or create an offering that can be sold to many people. Or if they have staff members, start offloading and start training that staff on how to deliver the expertise and the service. So we look for immediately what are the ways to free up their time while still optimizing what they're bringing in for revenue.
Beautiful. I love that. What about that second scenario? We talk a lot on the show about igniting our leadership. When you're
Yes.
working with folks who are in that stage where they're intending to transition more into being a leader as opposed to working in their business, tell us a story about an incident where that has really been a tremendous benefit to your client and their business.
Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, client Melissa, fast growing. So she started her business in 5 years. They were almost a million in revenue with a mental health practice. She had close to 20 employees. And so, but she found she was working more than ever and was really overwhelmed because that's kind of to be expected when you're hiring, but you don't necessarily know how to get all those people to understand their role and do what you need them to do. And one of the things is my unique culture blueprint that I create with business owners like this, where we draft and develop, well, what are the core behaviors that we need out of the team, and developing that so that everybody understands what does it look like when they are a success in their role, what does it look like when they're when they're above expectation, at expectation, and below expectation. So I work with the business owners to really define this so that team members understand what are the expectations of their role, but also how do we be, like, how do we communicate together within that? It's not just about doing the tasks, but a lot of times it's the how we go about doing the tasks. I'm sure anybody here who's worked with someone that you were ever afraid to ask them a question, or you felt like maybe they were going to snap at you, you probably understand what I'm saying here is it's not just about getting the work done, but it's about how we support each other as a team. So in Melissa's case, it was working that through on how could she be more empowered with frameworks and tools that to hold the staff accountable, and have that as a document and a resource to where they could have that, the staff could start using that language and self-acknowledging when they were demonstrating the behaviors of success versus when they were below expectation. Because that's the thing that gets overwhelming for a lot of business owners is if staff isn't doing what they need them to do, but they don't even know how to have the conversation. So I work to give them tangible tools that they can take to the conversation that they created together with their team. So they all were bought in when they decided together, hey, this is what our culture is, and this is how we all expect to behave here. And this is what it looks like when we're creating success together. So through that journey with Melissa, we got her from working 55 hours a week down to 25 hours a week, helped her clear 6 figures of business debt, helped her double her personal income. Again, it was a journey, but it came from supporting her staff and helping their development so that they could be supported to do better in their jobs.
I love this. This is amazing because what this tells me is that the work that you do can support these amazing women in business that have my heart, can support them as they're growing and kind of teasing out what it is that they even want to do. And then as they've figured it out and they've gotten it to the place where now they need to grow and scale, you're also still going to be an amazing resource for them in that space as well. So feels like a win for women in business everywhere. Want to switch gears a little bit, Amber, because you mentioned that you left the corporate situation and you got into your business and you were able to get into that $1 million club in what we as women in business consider to be a reasonably short time. Looking at the American Express figures say about 4% of women in business gross $1 million. We're not talking about income now. We're talking about just revenue. Yep. 4%.
Yep.
So that's, in my opinion, and I'm not saying that I'm a math genius, even though I did get the math prize in high school. I just feel like 4% of women in business, is that low?
Oh, yeah. And when I started, it was less than 2%. So it's growing, but yes. And I think there's a whole lot of reasons for it. And I also I think we each need to create the kind of business that serves the values and vision that we have. And that doesn't need to be everyone's benchmark. But if we could get more women-owned businesses at that level, it would transform a lot. Because as you started this conversation, the more money circulating through women-led businesses, the better it is for communities. And there are we have a lot of opportunity to continue improving things to make it more feasible for people in general and for women to be able to hit those benchmarks, because I'm extremely proud I did it, but there was also a lot of risk, sacrifice, and things that I don't advise people to do in order to be able to accomplish those levels. But there are some takeaways that are help us grow smarter that I do teach people that are critical to being able to accomplish levels of growth and scale that sometimes a business has to have so that you can fund the operations that you need. And so you can afford to have the quality of talent that you need to provide the services. So yeah, we still have a long way to go with getting more women at that level.
So women are listening. And if you could reach your arms around the world, if your arms are like that long, and you could embrace us all as women in business and just give us this one piece of advice as we strive to grow our businesses smarter and live our optimal lives. This is a big question. What would that piece of advice be?
It is to cast the vision of how you want your life to be on the day-to-day. Truly, it's that. And then look at what are your non-negotiables that are critical for you of how you want your days to be. And what are some of I call them the right hard things or the right strategic moves, work smarter, not harder, that will help you play there's things we want immediately, but how do we play the long game as well? So I'm always looking at this dance between how can you enjoy your life right now, but what are the things that are worth putting the effort in because it will make your life better or easier or help you live more into that vision 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 3, 5 years from now. So it really, it's a personal journey. And I say how I built that $1 million business, but then I transformed a lot and we don't do a million a year in revenue now. After doing that and leading that team for 8 years, I made changes because I really looked at what's my vision and values. And the way I was running things no longer fit with how I wanted the next 5 to 10 years of my life to look like. So giving ourselves permission to create the businesses that serve delivering for us the vision that we have. Full stop at that. And I say that because there will be so many outside voices that think, but you could hire people, or you should go get more revenue, or, well, you could be working more, or you could create this offer or launch this. You could do a whole bunch of things, but it doesn't mean that it allows you to live into how you want your life to look on the day to day.
I love that. I love that. So, in giving us, I love to think of the show as a practical resource and that folks can tune in and they can get even just one small win from every show that they can go ahead and apply to their lives and see some change, see
Yes.
some benefits, see some transformation. So, when we look at our life and figure out what we want to do and how we are going to get to the next step, give us some do's and don'ts about this process. How do we even get started with that? What do we do?
Okay. So, one exercise I love is looking out ahead. When you imagine yourself a year from now, what do you want to be celebrating? What are you looking back that you've accomplished over this year? Because if we can give ourselves a space to tune in with that, then we can backtrack it to, well, what are the steps that we need to take from here to there? What are the top strategic goals? What are the top most important things? And then we need to evaluate, what do I need to double down on and focus on, but what do I need to let go? That's one of the biggest things. I think a lot of us, or I see that a lot of us, we just have to let some things fall off our plate so that we can get laser focused on what really matters the most. So I call that your future self projection or your future self success letter. That's one thing. And then the other one is, so lots of people have done time studies, but I like doing this as what I call a 2-week time and energy study. So if anyone's ever feeling a bit overwhelmed or like you have so much on your plate, keep track of everything that you're doing for 2 weeks and put them into category buckets. If you're a business owner, usually those buckets would be, if you track all your time and then you look at, okay, how much in the day to day is going towards sales, marketing, delivery of customer services, learning and education, team development. So you give yourself your buckets based on what are all the things you're responsible for. So then you're looking at where's your time going, but then also making a note around your energy around it. What is lighting you up and what is draining you and just sucking the life from you? This, right? Because this can help us see, can some things be let go? Can they be outsourced? Is there a time of day that it's better to get if you have to do the difficult tasks because you don't have someone to give them to, how can you get it done and out of the way and free yourself up? But the other thing that this does, when people get real about this, it always happens that I find clients share that they recognize that they're spending too much time in the buckets that aren't where their strategic focus actually needs to be right now. Like it might be fun, right? It might feel fun and fill your cup to read books and get educated all the time, but meanwhile, they're not making any sales. And so they can start to see sometimes they're distracting themselves with things that make them think they're running their business, but they're not actually moving the needle on what they need the most. So do a 2-week time energy study.
I love, love, love these two activities that you are suggesting that we do. The future projection, I always think that we don't spend enough time just dreaming about what we really want, or sometimes we don't even allow ourselves to want what we really want. And if we could just spend some time there, that could make a big difference because we might be working towards something that is not even, it's not even what we want. It's not how we want to live our lives.
Yes.
So I absolutely love that. And then the 2-week energy and time study is an amazing, amazing idea. I remember being in, this may have been way back in corporate days when I was doing leadership training, and we learned how to do a time study. And this is like where you would track every single minute of every single day and do that bucketing that you mentioned. But nobody mentioned the energy piece. And to me, without the energy piece, that activity is actually toothless.
Yes.
Have you ever had a client who's done this, who's seen a lot of results? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, because what it actually often causes then is going deeper into what are the reasons that the energy drain is there or that the thing is being
Mm-hmm.
avoided. So, where I've seen the most growth and transformation with this is that if someone starts to talk about the things that are draining their energy, sometimes we're able to get to the root of why are they afraid of it? Why are they avoiding it? Sometimes it's just not their skill set and it is
Mm-hmm.
not the best use of their time. I'm a huge proponent of Zone of Genius. One of my favorite books is The Big Leap. And it talks about how we all have, yeah, amazing. We all have a zone of incompetence, competence, zone of excellence, zone of genius. So when I'm working with business owners, especially as they're stepping into how do I really be a CEO, we look at how do we get you operating as much as possible from your zone of genius. Everything else is we let go of it. It's outsourced to someone else's zone of genius, let them do it. So that's where I see profound outcomes with this is looking at the root of why it drains the energy. Sometimes it's a limiting belief story. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
really not their skill set. Sometimes it's a fear and an avoidant thing. And through coaching, then we can work that out. And that's the transformation point, right? Sometimes the thing that they've been wanting to do and move forward on for months is a thing they've been avoiding. And it's not actually that it's meant to be outsourced to someone else. It is meant to be their journey. But until
Mm-hmm.
they get support of another human talking them through it, we can lack the confidence or the clarity or the courage to just step in and do the darn thing.
I heard those three C's and I love it, love it, love it, love it. Homework. Give us a
Okay.
piece of homework so that we can
Ooh.
get started right away with this, because this is really important, I feel, for all of us who are women in business. I say to people all the time, and kind of inspired by our friend, Ladies Power Lunch member Anne Shabani, who wrote the book, How to Eat the Elephant. I really believe that we're
Mm-hmm.
here with purpose. And I really, really do believe that if there's something that you should be doing to help the world be better, how dare you not
Yep.
do it?
Yep.
Because there's somebody out there who's losing sleep at night who
Yep.
needs what you do.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So homework. We ready for homework? I love
Ready
what
for
you're saying.
homework. Let's do it.
So one of them would be to go to my website and I have free resources. Okay. So on amber-sweenor.com and you go to resources, there is the homework for someone who feels like you have this dream and you're stuck on how to move forward. There's a resource called the Unleash Your Impact Workbook. Download that workbook. It is a very juicy, like 8-page guide. People have told me they do their own retreat from home. It's a step by step. But if you're a business owner and you're feeling overwhelmed and stuck with like stuck in your thoughts, your emotions, what do I strategically do next? The homework for you is to download. It's called the Business Alignment Assessment. And I'm sure we can give out the links. But those would be 2 free workbook offerings that have some of my awesome coaching I give away for free. But for someone who doesn't want to download anything from me, I would invite them, what we just talked about, is to give themselves the 2-week time and energy study. And then
Mhm.
actually, to what you said, actually go to the part where it holds the juice, the opportunity is evaluate the things that light you up or drain you down. Why is that? And what does that tell you about your next steps?
I am in love with this. I am absolutely in love with this because I really, really, really strongly believe that we need to get more women in business doing the thing that lights them up so they can light up the folks they're here for.
Yeah.
And those folks can light up their folks, and on it goes. And before you know it, we've circled the globe, baby.
Yes,
It's a wonderful
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So folks are watching and they're thinking to themselves, Amber's amazing. I need to get to know her. Now, folks know that our guests, they can always connect with them inside our Ladies Power Lunch community, growsmarter, notharder.com/login. When you go there, you'll have an opportunity to log in and be a part of our Facebook community. But aside from that, Jam, how can folks find you, Amber?
LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. I'm still very highly active on Facebook and LinkedIn. And my audiobook is out. So I have my audiobook, my print book. Those are
Tell us
available.
a little bit more about
Yeah,
your book. Tell us a bit more about your book. Your best-selling, what is it?
thank you.
It's the USA Today
Yeah.
bestseller.
Yes. And Wall Street Journal. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's called Unleashed, a Been There, Rocked That Guide to Radical Authenticity in Life and Business.
What,
It's about
what?
radical authenticity and what that means for each of us to
Mm-hmm.
really create a life of authenticity for ourselves and in our careers. A lot of readers have told me that it's really gives them this boost to believe they can do anything. So and it's been cool that some readers have read it and come back and read it a year later, or they read it and now that the audiobook's out, they listened to that and they said a year later, like they were able to. It was so cool. They've gotten something from it again. They're like, this is exactly the boost that I needed with like Amber in my ear telling me I can do it and helping them believe in themselves. So anyone just on that journey to saying, really, who am I now and what I want out of these next steps in my life, in my career, my business, and you want a boost of reconnection with yourself and confidence to go for it, go read the book, listen to the book. You can listen on Audible. There's links on my website, and then you can order the print from anywhere that sells books.
So I just downloaded the audiobook, folks. I
Woo!
I have the Kindle book, but I think I
Thank
have it on
you.
Kindle. Yeah, but I
And
just downloaded the audiobook.
on my website under the book page, if people don't have Audible, if you click on the link from my page, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial so people can try it.
Awesome. I love that. And do you have a quick link for your website?
Amber-Swenor.com.
Excellent.
AMBR-SWENOR.com.
That's pretty easy for folks to connect with. Any last words before we dive into the last piece of this show?
Ooh. I love what you invited with homework, and to invite people, take one thing from this and move and do something with it, because nothing changes if we don't take action, if we don't change. And it doesn't mean you've got to do all the things, but just if there was one thing that kind of sparked an interest for you, follow up on it, download the workbook, do the activity, take one step from this.
I already have one step that I'm going to take from this, and that's to invite you back on the show.
Thank
You've
you.
been on the show before, and now we're just going to call you a friend to the show because we keep wanting you to come back. Our show is called Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life. And we like to talk about the Grow Your Business Smarter piece in this way. Sometimes some of our members have, overcome certain barriers. They've been able to do certain things that we might be a little unsure of the mechanics of. So you've done the best-selling book, you've done the Audible book, and there's some of our members who they might have books that are languishing, that are not getting into the hands of their readers. They might have books that might just be in the print form, but they want to get it into other forms like Audible. And so I would love to have you come back on the show and talk to us a little bit about your book journey
Thank
specifically.
you.
So let's
Sure.
talk about that off the air and make that
Yeah,
happen because I feel like that's a show that people are definitely going to want to watch.
that'd be awesome. I love it.
Yay! See, so now we have another play date, and this is tons of fun. At the end of every show, I pull a card, and I don't know what it is about this particular deck. It's the Love Your Inner Goddess
Hmm.
cards by Alana Fairchild, but it's just been calling, like for the last few months, I've only been pulling from this deck. And
Hmm.
I seem to go through phases because I was going through a phase the other day when I was only pulling from the Sacred Rebels. And then there was a time when the Enchanted Map was calling to me, Call It
Hmm.
Baron Reed. And so it's just whatever's in the air for me right now. But I don't know, maybe I'm just wanting to embrace the goddess in
I
me.
love that
So
deck.
maybe that's why this is coming out. So
Hmm.
I'm going to go ahead
Hmm.
and pull a card. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, at the end of every show, we do pull a card. And it's thought for the week until we see each other again. But it's interesting because sometimes, I'd say probably about 90% of the time, the card is really focused on the thing that we have been talking about. So I like to just see what's the universe going to call
Yes.
us to talk about.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm not sure if I've ever drawn this one. It's the Shaman of Skulls. So
Oh, well, I'm kind of rock and roll. So what's that all about?
it might be. I mean, I don't know. I
I
truly
might
have
want to
not
look it up now.
pulled this one before. So let's see what she said. For those of you who have this deck, it's number 34. And a lot of you have it. So I know you'll read along. And for those of you who don't, just go on over to growsmarternotharder.com/login, go into our Facebook group, and I will post the card there. So it says, in your heart,
Ooh.
you have been asking for something different, something more, and the universe is answering your prayers. You do not need to be afraid of the changes happening or that are going to happen for you. They're part of that answer from the universe. You might feel uncertain because you cannot see how it's going to all work out, but know that the universe is caring for you and will provide a way to move through the transition with grace. You are not crazy to willingly enter this experience. There is nothing that you need to avoid and so much that you will gain. What's this saying to
Mhm.
you, Amber, in terms of, what we've been talking about today?
This
Does it
is a
feel like it's spot on?
it does. This is exactly like my core zone of genius. We talked a lot about business growth, but the thing we only talked about a little bit is what I talk. It's the transformation. And when I said how I had that seed of a whisper that grew to like this roar in my head when I needed to transition out of my career and start my own business, that is a huge point of transformation where I I support a lot of women, and I know you support women, and that's the scary point when we sometimes feel like we're meant to step in a new direction that our soul is calling us toward. And that's what I'm hearing in the card is it's like a death of one thing, but actually so we can step into our greater purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to step out of the thing and let the thing go so the next thing can flourish. To me, it's all
What
about
this
transformation.
I love this. I love this. And what this is pinging for me out of our discussion today is when you suggested that we look at all our things and see which things are serving us and which things are not, which
Yes.
things we need to hold on to move the needle for us, and which things we need to let go of or have somebody else take care of that.
Yeah.
I feel like knowing those things is priceless. And I feel like the
Totally
card
agree.
is highlighting that for us.
It is.
Yay.
Yes. There you go.
Awesome. So before we go, I just want to do one tiny bit of housekeeping on the Ladies Power Lunch side. We had our first retreat in years. The last time we had a retreat before this was before COVID, 2019. And then we got right back into having retreats again this past spring. We went to the Bahamas. We had an amazing time. We learned so much together about our boundaries and having more life balance and seeing more beauty in our life. And of course, having a more brilliant business and legacy. And people who came on retreat with us had such an amazing time that I would say probably about 50% of the women who came on our last retreat are coming on our Ladies Power Lunch Fall retreat. So this is something that's very transformational. We are going on October 21st to Bimini in the Bahamas and want to invite folks who really see value in having community with amazing women in business who have the same heart-centered beliefs as we do, and also at the same time going to beautiful places and seeing beautiful things and taking care of ourselves, being pampered a little bit, and also working on that life balance, compassionate boundaries, observing more beauty in our lives, and seeing a more brilliant future. Folks who feel like I'm in for that, I want to invite you. We have 3 rooms left, just 3, and I'd love for one of them to be your room. So if you want more information about this, want to know more about this amazing invitation, just go to growsmarter.com/retreat, and you can get more information about us there.
That's going to be
All right.
amazing.
It really is. I am looking forward to it with great anticipation. So, Amber, as always, seeing you is a dream. Thank you so much, so much for being on the show. For everybody who's watching along, thank you so much, so much for tuning in. It means so much to us. It's probably nothing for you to just, tune in and watch us, but it means so very much to us. And if you are watching, if there's anything that has sparked something for you on today's show, wherever you're catching us, whether it's our podcast, Win Win Women, whether it's on our Facebook, wherever you're seeing us, may I invite you, will you like, subscribe, rate, review, whatever is a way that you can show your appreciation? Please, can you do that? Thank you in advance. Have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everyone.